So here are my explanations for the practice quiz of chapter 3. So question 1, which may be in a different order in your quiz, for a given commodity, quantity demanded can be represented by what? So in this class, the big thing that you need to distinguish is quantity demanded versus demand. So a change in quantity demanded versus a change in demand. So if you go back to your notes, a change in quantity demanded is when there is a movement along the demand curve due to a change in price of its own price, and that the quantity that is now demanded is either superior if the price has gone down or inferior if the price has gone up. A change in demand is when the whole demand curve shifts. So if we look at these answers here, if we talk about a demand schedule or demand curve, well, that is the aggregation of all of the different quantity demanded at different prices. So if we were to take a good and we were to evaluate at every single price, what would be the quantity demanded? That would give us the demand curve, or it could give us also a demand schedule. However, it is only a point on a demand curve that represents quantity demanded. That point is associated to one specific quantity demanded at one specific price. So it's based on this distinction that you need to understand this question. The price on the vertical axis, that doesn't represent quantity demanded. It's just the price is on the vertical axis. The money value of the stock of commodity held by households has no point here. Question 2. A normal good is what? So in class, we saw different things that shift the demand curve. There's price of related goods, there's change in taste, there's in preferences, and other things like that. But one of them is change in income. And when we were talking about change in income, we separated goods into two big categories, which we could then subdivide as well. But the two big categories were either a normal good or an inferior good. A normal good is as your income rises, you consume more of this good. So going to the restaurant, clothing, sports, vacation time, stuff like that would be a normal good. An inferior good is one that falls as you earn more money. So you buy less craft dinner, you take the bus maybe less often, you drive more, anything that's seen as an inferior product and that you'll substitute for a much more superior product will be an inferior good. So what defines normal or inferior good? Normal good is something that goes up with income, inferior good goes down with income. So for which demand varies inversely with household income is not right. It's not in the opposite direction. That everyone normally consumes, it's not the definition of a normal good. Maybe some people consume it, but if we think about wine or scotch or things like that, I'm not trying to assume that everyone consumes it. I'm just saying that the people who do consume it, if they earn more income, they will consume more. For which demand does not vary with household income is false. That would be like a good that is not related to income. That normal people consume is very similar to this answer in B, which is wrong. For which demand varies directly with household income. What it means by directly is that it's moving in the same direction. So income goes up. We also have the consumption of this good going up. So if income were to go up, this demand curve for this product would shift right. The supply and demand schedules for the umbrella market are given below. So we have all of these. Refer to table 3.2. What number of umbrellas would actually be purchased if the price in the market were $10? So at this stage here, we haven't looked at price controls yet. However, we could still see that if the price was $10, even though 700 units would be sold if they're produced because there's enough quantity demanded at that price. If there's only 400 units supplied, you cannot sell more than 400. If there's just 400 umbrellas available, even though there's people demanding 700, there's only going to be 400 units sold. So when the price is not in equilibrium, and in this case, the equilibrium price, in the absence of any government intervention, would be where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied at $20. Well, if we're not at that equilibrium, we're always going to be selling less. So if the price is too low, quantity supplied is below the 600, and if the price is too high, there's less people demanding it. So it's always going to be the smaller of the two numbers at that price if it is a binding price. So here at $10, 400 units get sold because there's only 400 units that are available. A rightward shift in the supply curve indicates that more is demanded at each price. No, to have more demanded at each price would be a rightward shift in the demand curve. A decrease in the quantity supplied at each price, that is false, because that would be a leftward shift of the supply curve, where the quantity supplied would be smaller at each price. An increase in the quantity supplied at each price is the right answer. A shift in the demand curve also is false. One could shift without the other. It's going to lead to an impact in quantity demanded, obviously the new equilibrium. However, it does not lead to another shift. That an increase in income results in an increase in quantity demanded at each price is not linked to this story initially. Here we have the hypothetical Canadian market for barley. And what's the equilibrium price of barley? Well, if you have no price controls or other types of things that disturb the market, you're always looking in these columns for wherever quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So no, yes, this is the situation. No. So 350, I have $150 per ton would be my equilibrium price for barley in this case. So those are the answers to Chapter 3's practice quiz.